questions for today. I'm going to leave that board up there to remind you about our common mistake and where we're going with this. And I want you to understand the importance of taking the time to understand what the variable represents. Because that's what we've spent a lot of time on so far with algebra. Constantly talking about what does the variable mean? What does the coefficient mean in this situation? So at every table I've put 2 pieces of paper for each group. You have 1 piece of paper that has statements on it. So there's 8 statements that have been provided to you and 2 blanks. So those 2 blanks you're going to have to fill in a situation for. You're going to write it. So there's also scissors at the center of each table. The questioner is going to be cutting these out as you're talking about them, okay? The second page has equations. The reason why I didn't cut these already for you is because on this page it tells you what each variable is representing. So just like how we just had for E and B, this page is telling you what A, B, X, and Y represent in context to this situation. Okay? I also put construction paper at your table. I have to skip that table. You are going to be matching the equation to the statement. And there's also glue sticks at the table. But everyone just look up here for 1 second. Look up at number 2. So this is really the important part of this activity. You're not only making the matches, but you're explaining the connection. And as I'm walking around, I'll be taking down notes. I want to hear the math vocabulary. So I should hear you talking about the coefficient, the variable, using words equation. You want to come up to look at the word wall, you can. There's a vocabulary sheet if you feel like you need it at the back. And like I said, you have an iPad for each group at your table to access those vocabulary words are there as well. You want to check to see if there's another card, another sentence that matches. So like I said, you're going to have those blanks. You're going to have to come up with some situations on your own. And that's it. Questions? Okay.
What if there's 2 questioners?
So you know what, one questioner could cut one set up and one could cut up the other. Okay? It is 10:30 right now. I'm going to give you till 10:55, so 25 minutes for this activity. Okay? You may begin.
Who's not the questioner?
Yeah, this is right. doesn't get made. Because the focus of this is not to complete every single match. The focus of it is to make the matches and be able to explain them. And to make less matches that are correct as opposed to just matching everything up. Sorry. So I asked Sabrina, Ryan, and O'Neill to post up something I saw on their poster. And I picked this because I saw them match a statement to two equations. So what I want everyone to do right now, you can put the glue sticks back in the middle, the bins. Take your dry erase boards again, please. And clear the box. We are going to do A, B, Q. So if you agree, if you disagree with them, put a reason as to why on your dry erase board. And any questions you have. Okay, so as soon as your board is ready, we will have this group explain. Okay, it looks like you're setting up their 3 columns. Agree, disagree question. Okay. Group, take it away.
Okay. It says, I bought twice as many bananas as apples. We said the two equations that were similar were A equals B divided by 2 and B equals 2A.
Can you just explain for everybody what A equals B divided by 2 means?
First expression said means the total number of bananas bought divided by 2 equals the amount of apples I bought. And that would equal to you're getting twice as many bananas as apples. And then the second question equation, 2A equals B, which would be 2 times the amount of apples the person bought equals the total number of bananas the person bought, which would also equal the expression, I bought twice as many bananas as apples.
So I'll give you about 90 seconds to finish getting down. If you agree, why? If you disagree, why? Little bullet point notes on your board. And a question that you may have for this group. You're going to just start the driver's board today. Put it with the jacket.
2 times the apples is equal to how many bananas? No, not half of your bananas are equal to how many apples you had. The question is asking you what it says that twice as many of your bananas.
All right, so let's just go back one step. What do you agree with? Here.
I agree with the second.
You agree with the second one?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you agree with the second one?
Because that's saying that 2 times your apples are equal to your bananas.
Okay.
The question's not asking if like half of your bananas are equal to how many apples you have.
Okay. So this was some feedback that I had given as I was walking around the room to groups. Is that when you're trying to match up the statement to the equation, we're trying to do it so that it's very literal. Okay? As to what the words are saying here. What about, are these 2 equations equivalent? And how do we know? Are they equivalent? And how would we know? Ariana?
I don't think they are equivalent because the second one, it says that the bananas are equal to 2 times the amount of apples. But there's like, and then for the first one, it says that the apples are equal to the bananas divided by 2. But the second one, they're equal to each other, like they're the same amount. But the first one, I know what it is in my head. I just can't like explain it in words.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. You're working through it based on the meaning of the variables. How can we test it mathematically? How can we test it mathematically? Jillian? Inverse property? Okay, so we have an example of inverse property here. But let's, besides just talking about our number properties, which are absolutely right, how can I test this out mathematically? Mathematically test it out. Yana? Okay, so which one do I want to substitute for? B or A? And you, well, we could pick one. Because B should be the same value of both, and A is going to be the same value of both. But we only need to choose one to actually test it for. So which one do you want to start, A or B? A, and what do you want to let A equal? 4. Okay, so Yana has decided A is going to equal 4. I'm giving you all 60 seconds to try it out on your boards. If A equals 4, you guys want to go around and try it here on your own? Will these 2 equations prove to be equivalent?
Forgot what they're
You guys should have it written on your boards already. Okay? A equals B divided by, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you so that they can do the work, okay? A equals B divided by 2. B over 2 is one equation. And the other one is B equals 2A. And Yana said we're going to let A equal 4. Okay? This is quick. Less than 60 seconds at this point. Seconds. You can just write what B equals for both equations and just box it, circle it, and hold up your board when you're ready. Did you let A equal 8. Is that right? It's okay. Just check to see what you did. Okay, so for those of you who let A equal 4, looks like just about everybody has B equals 8 then. Yes? So, thank you. You guys can actually take a seat. So, by choosing a value for either A or B, put it down the other way. Put in the value for B and then solve for A. Okay? We've tested out equivalency. So we've now proven that both of these equations mathematically mean the same thing. Okay? And to lead into where we're going to go after this lesson, talking about independent and dependent, our input. When we're inputting here for this equation, B equals 2A, when we're inputting 4 for A, we call it an input or we call it an independent variable, independent value. Okay? It stands by itself. B is an output here. It's also known as a dependent variable. So we're going to talk more about these. But dependent, think about what the word dependent means. You're relying on somebody else. Relying on something else, right? So the outcome of B is relying on what happens with A. That independent term and the coefficient here. So now, let's just tie all this together. We proved that both of these equations were correct. So, I like Maggie's board, and I know she had to erase it to do her calculation work, but there was part of it she didn't agree with. Literally, this equation B equals 2A is what this statement is saying. Both of these equations could be used to represent it because they are showing the same thing. They're showing the same values. But if you had to pick a statement that best matched the equation, it would be the B equals 2A because that's literally what the words are saying. Okay? But technically and mathematically, because we were able to prove it, we could show that both of them would work. Yes?
I put twice as many examples. We put B equals 2A and we put A equals B2 in a different thing coding. On a good word coding.
Okay, so what was the statement that you matched A equals B divided by 2 to?
Apples cost half as much as bananas.
Good. So that would be the better match based on the statements that were given to you. But if you were just given, let's say, this statement and asked to come up with your own equation, either one of these, if you weren't doing it as a matching activity, would show to be correct. Yes?
What Anya said was wrong. It has to be a Y or an X.
Did she say cost?
Yeah.
She said cost? I thought she just said the amount.
Put up for that.
Okay, so let's take out the word cost for right now, and let's leave it the way Anya said it, with exempts from cost. And she would have been correct. Okay? Which leads me to the very last point before we get to looking at your pre-assessments. This is a very popular match on a lot of people's posters right now. Bananas cost $2. B equals 2. 1 minute, turn and talk. What do you think about it? Lillian, you want to be spokesperson for your group? So did you guys agree? Did you disagree?
We disagree with the answer because B is equal to the numbers the bananas in what? So this would say on the cost, so it would be y equals 2. So they mix up the variables, so it should be y equals 2 instead of e equals 2.
And you said the y one more time is
Y is
because
the cost of the bananas in dollars, and the B equals the number of bananas on 1.
okay. So this would be another point that I would put down as a CM alert, a common mistake alert. Okay, it ties back to what we did right before we started this activity with the common mistake is identifying what the variable represents and not getting confused.
Adding on to Jillian said, there's different variables and they look at different meanings. Like the number of something you have, you can't automatically equal the cost. There has to be like math into it.
So this is the number or the amount of bananas.
You can't automatically equal the cost.
Excellent, nice job. I'm going to come around to collect your posters in a second. You can clean off your boards. I put at each group your pre-assessments with a copy of the